We're going to kind of bounce around because we did a recording yesterday of this, and I'm scratching myself raw because I'm getting nervous. But we did a recording of this yesterday, so I'm going to kind of piece the two recordings together. I realized in the recording I did yesterday, I just rambled on and on and on about different silly stuff and didn't necessarily.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Mm-hmm.
The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Don't be scared now, but it looks like you just wandered straight into U-Mind country. That's U-Mind, short for unaffiliated mind games, and you ain't never gonna be the same again. Brace yourself. It's time for a red-hot truth injection. Oh yeah, that's right, we're rounding up the sheeple and shaking them awake. U-Mind, too damn bad. We're gonna set fire to the wool over your eyes. Feel the burn, baby. Hot. We're toppling the lies of the mainstream media, one by one. Woo-wee! Watch them bad boys fall. Hey, Universe A, this is Universe B calling, and we're gonna tear you a new one. You mind?
Okay, hey everybody. I am here with old Scratch himself, and we have a new seating arrangement here because no one can sit higher than His Highness. So
We also have the Christmas tree.
we also have the Christmas tree. So yes, we are just here to do a little recap of what was going on Creeping Wave Radio, if you tuned in for that. We did our first 9-episode run, which has been our goal since beginning the show in, I think, 2016, 2017
Somewhere on there.
was the first time that we actually did the podcast. It's come a long way since then. It's evolved into its own thing. Oh, my goodness. So yeah, always the plan was to do it, release the first episode on Halloween, and the last episode as close to Christmas as we could manage. And so this year, on Christmas, which we did this year. So that was pretty exciting for us. That was a long time goal for us. Mm-hmm. So, season 3.5 recap, and it is season 3.5 because we had some snags in season 3 that prevented us from being able to finish out the season the way that I wanted to. And I wanted to sort of wrap up that storyline so we could kind of go on to a new storyline. So this season was season 3.5, and that's why. And we don't want to talk too much about that, but we talk about the season itself was kind of a pivotal one. The memories that Napoleon has been searching for that were awakened when he was rescued by Sugar the Sasquatch, in the very first season. The memories Napoleon has been seeking were finally revealed, at least in part, in this one, and they're not super positive memories. Mm-hmm. So there may have been a reason why Napoleon forgot a lot of things about themselves, a lot of things about their past, but things that are revealed are we start to learn more about the relationship between Napoleon and Dorcas Morlock. Dorcas is voiced by Anna Zanova of Pink Eye. You can hear their music in last season, the season prior to 3.5, that's season 3. So that was really fun to write. Dorcas Morlock's been a character that I've been sort of pushing around for a long time. My friend Robert found a woman in a yearbook from 1931, and he just, her name was Dorcas Electra Morlock. And it just was kind of like, wow, she's really interesting. She was involved in all these clubs, and she was into music, and she was into dance, and she was into all of these things. He just kind of was fascinated by this person because she had such an unusual name. And he actually found her gravesite, and he sent flowers to her gravesite. And she of course, is no longer among us, but it kind of inspired this character who became their own thing. It's not really based off of that Dorcas Morlock, but as a birthday present to him a couple of years back, I said, that character that we've been talking about, maybe doing a comic book about, maybe doing something with, I'm going to put her in the podcast. And she's going to be in there. So we're finally going to bring that to fruition. So we find out about Dorcas and Napoleon's past and why Old Scratch, your character, decided to bring Dorcas back into the mix. And kind of a nasty boy. But we also find out that Old Scratch's reasons for bringing Dorcas in are actually kind of wholesome, kind of just fatherly, I guess. Father trying to protect his family.
Quit calling me those dirty words.
Just, so yeah, we find out that Old Scratch, as fiendish as he is, all the terrible things that he does.
More like it. Fiendish, terrible.
Fiendish, terrible. All the fiendish things he does. Are actually just really trying to protect his little demon brood and from Napoleon, who he has to keep kind of in his grasp but holds at arm's length because they're a dangerous person. We also find out a little bit more about the relationship with Ian Warlock and Napoleon. We actually find out why Napoleon has the name that they do in this. and if you're astute, you might figure out Napoleon's birth name from the season 3.5. So there, little clues are dropped, little hints are dropped. Hints between the relationship as to why Old Scratch keeps Napoleon around, even though they're a dangerous entity, are dropped as well. But yeah, it's kind of twisted in there, lots of twists and turns, things like that. So we did start to discover Napoleon's memories that they lost and were uncovered in season 1 in part by Sugar the Sasquatch, and kind of learning what these memories are, maybe why they were forgotten. We also bring in a character called Marco A. Shatter, who is on the U-Mind and has also been in previous episodes of Creeping Wave Radio. Yeah, and that character has been around longer than any of my characters, really. That character came on anniversary with us, I believe.
Yeah. Not anniversary, honeymoon.
Our honeymoon, yeah. That character came on honeymoon with us. So.
Much to the shock of the other people staying at the hotel. Luckily, it was Halloween.
It kind of was okay. That's been a character that I've been performing for a very long time. And probably the oldest character that I've done. And just a very simple character, kind of based off of the Orion Gray kind of look, but more humanized. But yeah, just kind of a weird little character. I remember being in the bar in that full get-up with the cap and the white makeup and everything like that, and the black contacts. The parlor. And a very intoxicated woman came over and started having a conversation, as they're wont to do. And, yeah, one of those conversations where they keep looking over at their friends like, look what I'm doing, and I'm just like, okay.
Problem is, we weren't drunk.
No, not
It would have made a lot more sense.
It might have, but it's just, I tend to attract a lot of inebriated people to me. So it's a power I have.
Usually drunk old guys.
Yeah, well, that's how we met. No, it's not. That actually was on a boat. So I'll tell that story at some other point. Mm-hmm. This is about Creeping Wave Radio. So, kind of digging into Napoleon's past, learning more about Napoleon, we also kind of learn why I know that one of the questions that people ask me is like, why do you use the he pronouns for Napoleon? And well, Napoleon's not a human. First of all, they look like a human. They're in a human body, but they are a interdimensional soul in a human body. So they don't have they kind of have this quasi-gender sort of thing, and he is just what Napoleon kind of gravitates towards. But yeah, so we kind of touch on that just a bit in this episode. Well, not episode, in this season. And as I've said in other update episodes, that I drew a lot of inspiration from Bozak, from Orlando by Virginia Woolf, Serafina by Bozak, I should say, Bozak, and by a lot of works that played with the concept of gender, which now is almost like a trite thing to do. It's almost just like, oh, that old chestnut. But so we kind of introduced that a little bit, and so some questions will be answered and other questions will be awakened that hopefully we will be able to cover in season 4, which is underway. I actually have just been texting somebody today about the possibility of bringing them in as a character in season 4. So it's cool. And the podcast is probably going to change a little bit because Napoleon will be in the past. So we're going to have to figure out, does Scratch have some way of like sending this podcast forward? Do they store these podcast episodes and then Scratch is able to pick them up in the future and put them on air? How is this actually going to work out?
Well,
So,
burn them onto a CD.
Burn them onto a CD. Just save them. Then in 2021, go open that CD up, and they're all going to be perfect. So, but yeah, we're going to have to figure out exactly how these episodes get there. Of course, we do have time travelers in the mix now. 3.5 did introduce the temporal mitigation agents, Walter and Bob. We do introduce them into the plot line. And so now time travel is on the table, which is going to make for some interesting things. And we're taking this to 1995. And so that's going to open up some interesting possibilities, I think. Basically, the reason it is in... Oh,
do I have to wear flannel?
You do... No, nobody likes flannel. So, we don't want to look like lumberjacks around here.
That was the look back then.
We commune with the trees. We don't chop them down.
That was the look.
It was the look. It was the look. I do remember I was a teenager in 1995, which is kind of a decision that influenced my reasoning for setting this storyline. Is based on a story that I wrote that I never tried to get publication for, but you liked it a lot. You had a lot of faith in it. Yeah, so you said, why don't we take that story and bring that into Creeping Wave? And I was like, okay, I guess. But it was more of a young adult story, and I have not been a young adult for some time, so it was set in the 90s, because I know how to be a young adult in the 90s. I don't know how to be a young adult now. So, do you? No?
I never thought I had advanced past the age of 15 mentally.
But now Napoleon, of course, was not a young adult in the 90s. So, because they were born way back in the day. But, and that was one thing that we did get to introduce into season 3.5 that I thought was kind of fun, was Napoleon's parents. Of course, Napoleon can't see their parents as they truly are. Napoleon has an issue where when a memory becomes too painful, they kind of mask that memory in something that they can deal with, that they can cope with. So they can't actually cope with seeing the faces of their parents. So instead they come to them as, their mother comes to them as Bill Murray, and their father comes to them as Tom Cruise. And that was actually a gag that was specifically put in there to tease my mom, because my mom does not like Bill Murray or Tom Cruise.
Well, she does. She just doesn't like him in certain roles.
I don't think the
Right.
people themselves. I
Right.
don't think she takes issue with. She just hates certain characters with such a passion that I put that in there. And then, of course, we were talking about the little snags that happened in season 3 when my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. I told her, that scene with Bill Murray and Tom Cruise, I'm going to take that out because it feels like it's in bad taste. And she's like, no, keep it in. It's cute. It's cute. Why would you take it out? And I was like, I don't want to mock you. She's like, what? Because I'm sick? No, it's fine. It's cute. We just leave it in. And so she's actually the one who told me to leave it in. So I put it in there to tease her. And then she wound up being the person who convinced me that it should stay, that it was worth keeping in there. No, nothing was actually going on with her illness that inhibited me, other than just mentally. I was not in a place where I could develop myself in the way that I wanted to, that I could not put on the quality of production that I wanted to put on. So, and I will work myself to the grindstone. I just so it was not a great time, but you came back stronger. She's doing good, and we got to visit her a little while back, and got to do some Zoom
Christmas,
calls.
like many other people this year.
Zoom in for Christmas, yeah. So, yeah, and so that is another thing that's probably going to be introduced a lot more in the Creeping Wave Radio plotline. Is Napoleon having this parsed out memory, these memory lapses, and also not being able to see certain people as they actually are because it's too painful for them. So when they have dreams, when they have memories, things like that, these people who they're actually seeing, they're not seeing as themselves, they're seeing as actors, which is actually creates one of the major conundrums in the plot line, that being Meg Ryan, and who is Meg Ryan. And Meg Ryan constantly is entering their dreams, is this woman they're obsessed over. We understand that at one point Meg Ryan was that the Meg Ryan entity was Jean Harlow in their dreams, and at one point they were Polaire, but we don't know who the entity as of yet is that is Meg Ryan. But we know that that entity comes from Napoleon's past, from before they were human. So, and there's some hints dropped in there. If you're pretty sly, you'll probably know who Meg Ryan is. You probably have an idea of where the plotline might be developing towards. So, yeah, so this is, that's kind of our recap. We also wanted to, we had some really great actors who came in. Now, the voice of Napoleon's father, as they actually appear, was Marc Biaggi, who does a lot of film and video games and things like that. Obviously, he's not old enough to be my father, but he's the character's father as they actually are when they're not appearing as Tom Cruise, who was voiced by classic Black and Green, who also did Carl Bryan Farmer, I should say. He also did many of the voices for this. Carl Bryan Farmer and Travis Rhett Wilson, who is the voice of Bill Murray. Both of those actors just really stepped up to the plate and took on a bunch of roles. And we've been pretty lucky that we've found people who are very versatile like that. I think Carl does the voice for Tom Cruise. Carl does the voice for the stagehand at the circus. Carl does the voice for the ringmaster. Carl does the voice for the crew of the airship. Carl does the voice for Octavius. That's the major voice that he really came in as, Octavius, the octopus guard. And then Travis Rhett Wilson does just a ton of voices on the show. If you look in the credits, there's just an explosion of Travis. And Travis Rhett Wilson is Dr. Dmitry Kosorotov. He's Kyle Margula. He's the Monster Boys, Peter Lorre, Boris Karloff, Vincent Price. He's a whole bunch of people. And so we got really lucky with having so many people who are just multi-talented in the fact that they could do so many voices. Also in the fact that they could do music. We had some people who would contribute music and contribute voices. And we got it done. We got some really great bands came on the show. We had Digital Lizards of Doom came back with Gabe Valentine, who also is the voice of Gabe the Lizard Man on the show. We had, we had Johnny Tran was on the show. We had Velvet Underground. Oh, no, not Velvet Underground. Oh my gosh. Velvet Caravan was on the show, who we actually saw in Savannah. We saw one member performing with a harpist who we'd like to get on the show, but I was actually really trying to find a place where we could include her music. I believe her name is Jamie King, but
I can't remember.
yeah. Oh, that's terrible.
It is terrible because her name is actually Kristen King. She is a harpist. She does classical and contemporary harp music. You can hire her for weddings or any kind of event. We actually bought her CD, and she's amazing. We saw her at the Marshall House in Savannah, Georgia. So I'm going to try to put a link down here so that you can connect with her if you want to, because I am really sorry for messing up your name, Kristen.
I don't. I mean, I just listen to the music.
I know. But so we go around, we collect bands, we look at all different bands that we like, and we kind of say, like, get their information, say, well, would you be interested in being on our show? And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. And we're very low budget, so we can't actually pay industry rates. But we did have a bunch of really great artists who appeared.
And they volunteer their time. Very grateful for that.
We had Classic Black and Green. We had Cal Bordell. We had they also were voices on the show. They were the Three Circus Freaks who met with a fatal end. But Classic Black and Green, we already say him? Oh, Gally Fisher, who was part of Digital Lizards of Doom and is now going on a solo kind of run, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, we had so many really talented people. Oh, Dumb Blonde Rapper came back. That was pretty cool. So very exciting having all these musical guests and all these talented actors and comedians who joined us. We had Goat versus Fish. We had Alex Stein. We had, you can't go through and name everybody because we'd just be here forever just listing names. But listen to the podcast, look at the credits, and there's so many really great people who were involved. And we were really lucky that this year we were able to do an Indiegogo campaign to help give back to those people who've been helping us out to create the show, because there is no show without them.
Pretty much.
So, yeah.
Are we going to be having more of these talks like this?
We're going to probably try to have more of these talks. We're going to try and introduce it online and put it out for other people so that other people can reach out to us if they have questions. That is always really nerve-wracking for me. I'm not a social creature. Everything that's outside of my head feels like a violation to me. Yeah, I'm more in the like Emily Dickinson, Henry Darger camp of writers, where I just I would like to live in solitude and just create my piece, but you can't really advertise that way. You don't really reach an audience, and so much of reaching the audience in this day and age is getting out there and interacting with people.
So that's what we're going to try and do.
We're going to try and do that. And so answering questions from people, talking to people, trying to have a stronger online presence. And I have to apologize because when I'm working, when I'm editing, I really disappear into my work. And so I will just be working day and night, editing, sound processing, all this kind of stuff to make sure that everything comes out perfectly. And I just sort of disappear, and then I'll be like, oh, I haven't posted in like 4 days. I want people to actually listen to this episode. So
we're working on it.
We're working on it. We're looking into getting
it's a process.
Looking into getting
evolving process.
Help with the social media.
Yep.
Obviously, like I would still have to have some kind of a presence there because people want to talk to the creators, they want to talk to the team, but I sometimes lose track, and I maybe need somebody to be like, hey, we need some posts, we need some pictures, we need something up there. So we're also thinking of introducing some contests for the U-Mind. I haven't had a ton of luck with contests before, but maybe. So we have our legendary announcer, Savage C. Walnar, but we've never shown Savage. Actually, we have shown Savage C. Walnar on my Instagram. I've shown what Savage C. Walnar actually looks like, but and you can scroll through the Instagram if you want to, but you probably won't find it. It's a really old post. And the story behind Savage C. Walnar, where they came from. But we're curious, before I reveal that, I guess. Some people already know. But before I reveal that, we're curious to know what you think Savage C. Walnar looks like. And we might work that into one of the intros. If you watch on YouTube, I guess if you see this video, you are watching on YouTube. But yeah, if we want to kind of introduce Savage C. Walnar, see what other people think he looks like. Maybe send in your drawings, send in your costumes, send in whatever.
Or just a description.
Just a description. You can write a description, and we will.
But guys, we are a family-friendly group, so keep your descriptions family-friendly, please.
Oh yeah, we try to be family-friendly. Some of the subject matter, just by
as much
the
as you
nature
can with
of
werewolves
it,
and vampires, and
we're probably PG-13.
there you go.
So we don't want a lot of X-rated
No.
stuff. Though I was considering. I'm a big Duran Duran fan. I think I've said that before.
We still like you.
Yeah. And Duran Duran is not X-rated. But because I'm such a big Duran Duran fan, I recently read a book by William Burroughs called The Wild Boys. And so The Wild Boys is a fascinating book with all these elaborate, beautiful visual descriptions in it. But they are very...
It is not family-friendly.
It is not family-friendly. They're very X-rated. But if you're familiar with William Burroughs, you kind
Give it a read if you like.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, just for the experience of the visual creations that he puts into your head, just for that experience, it's stunning work, you know. And if you are into William Burroughs, then you understand what I'm talking about. Just very beautiful, flowery descriptions that go on and on and on. So Duran Duran has a song called Wild Boys, and actually Wild Boys was written because the director of the video, whose name escapes me right now.
It's actually Russell Mulcahy, and now you know.
The director of the video was planning on, they had bought the rights to Wild Boys, and they were planning on making it into a film. Which would have been difficult at the time, because there would be a lot that would be edited out. If we're talking about like a movie that's surreal and strange, I mean, this would put Dune to shame, the David Lynch Dune. It's well beyond that in surrealism and stuff like that. And it would have been difficult to find a market for it. It's also extremely sexual. And that would have been difficult to find a market.
That's what Dune should have.
So more.
I saw that Dune.
More
yeah,
sex scenes.
Huh? What is that? Spent a lot of time doing after that movie.
I love Dune. I mean, really, like
the sci-fi version. Channel version is really good.
I love the David Lynch Dune, and I saw the Jodorowsky version. Well, that version doesn't exist, but I saw a documentary where they talk about the Jodorowsky version, not virgin, and it sounds amazing. And I was so excited, like when I was like, oh, this would have been so crazy and so fun to watch. And I love weird, surrealist, experiential kind of films. One of the films that I love, and you are always like, what? have you put on? Is Immortals?
Actually, it's just Immortal from 2004. Immortals is a film from 2011. Different thing entirely.
You know that?
No, I like that one.
You like the Immortals?
Yeah.
I like that too. That is
It's
based...
that Oingo Boingo one that you put
Oh,
on.
The Forbidden Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
That
one
one is a
too.
head scratcher.
That one. Yeah, Immortals is based off the Nikolai trilogy. And I could be saying it wrong.
I did say it wrong. It's the Nikopol trilogy by Inke Belial.
It's a fantastic comic that actually they created a film out of. And I'm much more into weird, surrealist kind of film than I am into anything else. And I love Dune. When people's go-to sci-fi movie is always like Star Wars, which I love Star Wars, but I don't think I, God, this is such a terrible thing to admit. Well, it is for the culture that I work within. I don't think I cared about Star Wars with any deep passion until the Clone Wars series came out.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it was animated, and mostly because Ahsoka. I just love Ahsoka. And my ex at the time, I remember, he said, well, they just put that character in there so little girls can play Star Wars with their big brothers. And it's like, I mean, is
No,
that a
they go
bad
off and
thing?
play Star Wars by themselves.
Yeah, they get to play
Or with
Star Wars.
other girls.
Yeah, it's...
Or whoever.
I don't know why that's such a terrible thing.
Yeah.
So I mess up the titles of the original movies and stuff.
And we do like the new Ahsoka.
So, yeah, I love the character of Ahsoka. I guess my favorite character, is the Grand Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels. Is my
She likes old British guys.
I do like I do. It's and it's really weird that I hooked up with you because you're not British, but you're old, so that's good. So,
Curmudgeonly.
You're old and
Bearded.
curmudgeonly and bearded. The Inquisitor doesn't have a beard.
Mm.
But, yeah, and so, but, yeah, it's, but I just really like weird, surrealist kind of movies. And so, going back to the subject of what we're trying to do with contests after that huge, long tangent, which I'm prone towards, what I really wanted to do is for William Burroughs' birthday, which is in February, I really wanted to get some other writers involved and do an episode of Creeping Wave told in the style of William Burroughs. And William Burroughs had this technique where he would write like a page and then he'd tear it in half. And then he would sort of, kind of like if you hear about Brian Eno used to do this with songs, like do the kind of grab bag, mix it and match kind of thing to make sure that it maintained that weird otherworldly quality. So William Burroughs apparently used to do that, and then we would have some writers contribute in the style of William Burroughs as an homage to William Burroughs, and then we would sort of take that and use that technique and kind of mix and match it and just have an episode of Creeping Wave where we would have all the actors coming in and just doing voiceover for these characters that we'd probably have to get on it as soon as this episode airs if we actually want to get it out to there. So if you're a writer, hit me up, or if you're an actor, hit me up, and I'll just have to put the word out to all my writer friends that I was thinking about doing this, and now I've actually put it out into the public consciousness like
Now we
an
have to try
idiot.
to do something.
Like an idiot. I actually said it. I hate
Oh,
when
well.
I do that.
Progress.
I have a real problem with I like everything to stay up here where I can enjoy it peacefully. And there's a lot of space here. This is very Elizabethan. If you can't see my forehead, if you're just listening, like it's quite a phenomenon. So there's like expansive space up here for things to be stored.
Yeah,
And-
but I've lived with you long enough. It is not quiet
It's not quiet.
or restful.
Things
Peaceful.
No. The creative process for me is fitful. It is, in fact, I've talked about it with you before, that there's this thing inside of me that once the idea sets in, it won't let me go to sleep. And I have tried. I will lay in bed and my eyes will be wide open and burning, and I'm just like, oh, must sleep. But no, must draw. And finally I'll give into it. I'll give into this worm crawling around inside of me that must create, and it's a fitful process. And you poor thing.
Oh well, I survived.
You do. I don't know how. But you're
So,
pretty.
William Burroughs.
William
And
Burroughs.
So give us some ideas and
Mm-hmm.
take a read of his material. See what you think. We'll be doing the same thing.
Are we really doing this?
You just said we
Oh
are.
my gosh. We're doing this. We're doing the William Burroughs episode of Creeping Wave Radio now.
But again, going back to what I said before, family friendly, guys.
No, we can't. No, we can't. If it's William Burroughs, we can't be family friendly.
Yeah, well, you got to.
I've got to show you Naked Lunch, because
Yeah, well,
that's a little more
We
tame.
still have to be family friendly.
Well, we can beep things out, but
Right.
we can't. There's no way you can do that correctly and be family friendly. So,
Or if not, we'll find some kind of alternate thing. I don't know.
well,
This first I heard of it, so.
no, I told you about this
Oh, yeah.
before. Remember when I was reading Wild Boys and I read you the thing about
You
Kiki?
read me. Yeah, you read me
and-
that, but you didn't say about doing it. So.
I thought I did.
Oh well,
And
it's there now.
it is. Now it is manifesting.
So.
Oh. So you know what? Like with the whole Duran Duran Wild Boys thing, do you think maybe we could get Simon Le Bon to come on the Human? You don't know who Simon Le Bon is, do you?
Yeah, no, I do.
Okay.
Well, he's obviously familiar with William Burroughs, so that should be a stopping point.
I don't know if he's familiar with William Burroughs. I think he's familiar with Wild Boys. I don't know if he actually read the material but the video is done with imagery from the book, but obviously not to the extent that because that would be fantastic, but it would be amazing. Honestly, like. Read it. It's an amazing piece. It is an acid trip, and it like in printed form. It's and given William Burroughs' predilection towards substances, that it probably that's.
Who knows? It was the '60s.
Yeah. Now William Burroughs actually
Even in
wanted.
the '70s.
William Burroughs wanted to make that into a movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
was the '60s.
But his vision was, because actually at the time films like Deep Throat or Behind the Green Door.
Let's say, you have any more thoughts about our?
Talking about porn right now.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
We don't want to talk about porn.
No. What we want to do is finish up with what we're doing,
Okay.
and maybe provide some contact information.
Okay, so all the links will be in the description box. So thank you for joining us for this little recap. And I hope it was fun for you, and I hope you submit some William Burroughs-esque storylines, or at least sentences, or at least ideas, or something to us, because like an idiot, I have made that public, that it is my intention to do now. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Super special thanks to Savage C. Walnar, our legendary announcer, who we could not do the show without because he announces it, so he kind of starts everything. Also, special thanks to Ethan Meixsell, who composed our U-Mind theme, Demilitarized Zone. Do you love it? I like it too. It's really cute. Anyway, you can go to patreon.com/lucidnap if you would like to become a Patreon and donate. Or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/lucidnap for small, one-time donations, which would be much appreciated, honestly. And you can also go to lostbreadcomic.com to buy art and stickers, eventually, and prints, and lots of good stuff coming your way pretty soon. Yeah, we're working on that. Anyway, you can follow us. Yes, if you follow us, you can keep up on all the latest things we're doing. And you know what? Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Whatever you do, we kind of depend on you, because without you, we're just talking to ourselves. And I do that anyway, but I mean, it doesn't make for much of a podcast. Maybe it would, though. I don't know. Anyway, special thanks to The Grammarica Show, Nikki Benfield, and Neil, who are our Patreons, and we simply could not do without them. We simply could not. That's just how it is. We couldn't. Anyway. The U-Mind is brought to you by Lucid Nap Productions in cooperation with the Scary Old Man.
I'm not that scary.
Don't
I
be
don't
so-
try to be, but I just am.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
You don't have to find an interdimensional saloon to have a pint of alien beer with me, Chrissy Garrison. Just tune into my Alien Beer podcast each Thursday, and I'll share my speculative fiction stories with you. And every other week, I'll be serving up a new installment in my science fiction serial, The Multiverse Blues. Meanwhile, catch up with me at sillyhatbooks.com/podcast. See you there.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.